Welcome to this month's edition of Pink House Cooking Kitchen. I'm Laura Coleman. I am a 5-year breast cancer survivor. I am a cancer exercise specialist. And in my previous life, I was a chef before I had children. And then I had children and that life was no longer like a viable one. So I moved on. So tonight we're gonna do something a little different. One of my favorite dishes was always chicken piccata, and we are going to do turkey piccata. So piccata can be done a lot of different ways. You can do chicken piccata, you can do turkey piccata, you can do pork piccata, you can do a white fish piccata, so like a tilapia piccata. So this is just a basic piccata recipe, and you could do any type of meat. I wouldn't do beef that you would want to use. You can, and if you're vegetarian, you could easily do this with some seared tofu. It's delicious. That's typically the way I do it. So we're going to start. I've preheated the oven to 425. I know we said we were going to do a grilled vegetable today. So when I went to the market, I found some baby broccoli or broccolini. So we're going to roast that because we always want to have some greens with our dish or with our dinner. But we're going to get the farotto started. And I want to talk a little bit about farotto. So farotto is Italian for ancient wheat grain. So if you have a gluten allergy, you are able to use millet. You can simply use brown rice instead of the farotto, but we're just using a healthier grain as opposed to arborio rice. It's more nutritious, it's higher in fiber, it is higher in protein, it's low in fat, and it's got some great antioxidants and polyphenols, which help protect against diabetes. It helps protect, it helps fight certain cancers, so they say, heart disease, and against stroke. So those are the benefits of using a whole grain as opposed to using like a white pasta. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with our farro. So I like to use the Trader Joe's 10-minute farro because it really cuts down on the cooking time. So it's pre-cooked. So it just, if you look at it in my hand, it's just kind of starting to sprout. So they're cooked it a little bit so that it doesn't take like the usual 40 minutes for it to cook. So I have my little measuring cup here. I'm going to start with a cup of the farro. And this actually works out fine. I'm just going to use the last few grains in this bag, so it'll be a little more. I'm going to get my pan. And I'm going to put the farro in here. So I am using vegetable stock with this just because when I make it, I try to keep it as vegetarian as possible. Just that's my liking. You can use chicken stock, you can use turkey stock, but it's typically 2 cups of stock to 1 cup of farro. And it's super easy. So you're just going to put your well, I don't want to put the chicken stock in. We're going to save that one for later. I'm going to put the vegetable stock in. Give it a little shake. So this is just going to go a little quicker because I'm using the 1/2 cup. So I'm going to put 4 of these in. And I love doing this too because this is a dish that easily freezes. So that's all in. I'll take this back because we're going to be using it. I'm going to give it a quick little stir. And I'm going to set my cooktop to medium high, and I'm going to let it come to a boil. And it's really easy. All the instructions are in the back or on the side. The cooking instructions are on the side of the farro. So if you're ever confused as to how to make it, you just follow the boil or the simmer directions, okay? So now that we've got that going, we're gonna move on to and start to prep our mushrooms. I chose shiitake mushrooms. I like the meatiness of it, and I like the flavor of a shiitake mushroom. You could use any type of mushroom you like. I think baby bellas are really nice. The one thing you do have to do is you do need to remove the stem on the shiitakes. So they're really easy. They just pop right out. And it's just the cap that you're going to use. You can cut these any way you like. So, and if some break off, don't worry about it, not a big deal. But I just push it to the right, to the left, and it pops right out. Some are a little tougher than others, so you might have to work them a little bit. I like to slice mine. If you're not into cutting, you can buy them pre-sliced in the store. You want about 6 ounces. This is 8 ounces of mushrooms, but we're taking the stems off. So you're probably left with about 6 ounces. And I think they sell the sliced mushrooms in 4 ounces to 6 ounce packages. So we go through here. And I know they talk about using like a brush or a paper towel to kind of rinse the dirt off. I rinse mine in water and then I just pat them dry. So I did that a while ago. I ran them under water and I patted them dry really well. And they're nice and dry. So mushrooms tend to take on a lot of liquid, hence the reason why they say you should brush them and not rinse them. But I'd rather get all the dirt off, especially if I'm unable to find organic mushrooms. Then I'm really particular. I'm definitely going to wash them then because I want to get as much of the pesticide off the mushroom as possible. Okay, just a few more to go and then we'll get them chopped up. I guess I can do this here. And there we go. We'll move this out of the way. And we're just going to start slicing. So I'll show you a few different ways. So just nice thin slices. That's the way I like them. It just makes for a meatier dish. You could quarter them, you could dice them. So if you're not into, you know, slices, you can just put them into a nice dice. So it's a smaller little piece that's in the Ferrotto. Few more. So lots of technical difficulties today. So I don't get to see anybody's face. Just Tammy's. And mushrooms really tend to cook down. So it looks like a lot of mushrooms right now, but as these start cooking, they're gonna become a lot smaller. Two more, and these will be all done. All right, so small kitchen, we're gonna have to use the pan multiple times. So I'm just gonna start with a little bit of olive oil or a lot of spray because we're out of olive oil here. I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir. It's come to a boil now. So I'm just going to reduce it to a simmer. And I'm going to go to simmer on the other side because, you know, I always get confused over here with all of this. So here we go. So I'm going to heat this up, get the pan nice and warm. And I've also started the oven. I've kind of preheated it to 425. So about 20 minutes before everything's ready, I'm going to prep the broccolini and I'm going to throw it and I'm going to roast it in the oven. All right, so we've got these ready. So while I'm waiting for that to heat up, I'm going to start slicing my shallots because I'm going to use the smaller shallot for the Ferrotto. So I'm just going to take the skin off. And someone was asking earlier about shallots. So I tend to buy one round shallot and it has 2 smaller bulbs in it. It's a preference. If you like more shallot, put it in. If you like less shallot, put less shallot in. I tend to like more shallot. It's nice and sweet. I'm just going to take the outer skin off. And for the Ferrotto, I'm going to dice it. So I'm going to cut it into a nice fine dice. And don't worry if there's like a little blemish. This one has a little blemish on it. It's gonna be diced pretty fine, so you really won't see that in the dish. It won't show up in the dish. It's kind of like garlic, right? Sometimes these skins are a little testy and don't come off as easy. Okay, let's get rid of this. And we will check the heat in the pan. Starting to get warm. And the way I like to do these, it's just a little easier. I'm just gonna slice them into threes and then slice them this way a few times. I know my big fingers are in the way. And then all you need to do is and let them fall out and just chop it up, right? Pretty easy. And run the knife through. You just want a nice little dice. There's that one. This one, I'm just gonna kind of go this way. And then again, my little cuts this way, this way, this way. And I'm gonna chop it. Sometimes they turn sideways, so just if they do, just run your knife over it a couple more times. Okay, we should be ready for the mushrooms. So I'm gonna get them over to the pan. Nice little sizzle. And I'm just gonna put a little olive oil on top as well. And every now and then, I'm just gonna give the farro a little stir. All right, we have the mushrooms going. The shallots are ready to go. I'm gonna slide those over to the side. And what I'm gonna do while that's cooking, and I'll stir every now and then, is I'm going to start prepping my turkey cutlets. So I buy the turkey cutlets in Trader Joe's. I know Walmart sells them. I know Target sells them. Sometimes Harris Teeter will have them. It's just kind of hit or miss, but Trader Joe's tends to have them all the time. So I got myself a nice little piece of parchment here. And all I'm gonna do I what? No, I do not. There's no need to. All right, I have my little pounder. And I'm just gonna get them nice and thin. Sometimes some are a little thicker. This one is a little thicker on the end, so I'm just gonna pound that out. So that they're even and they cook, evenly. So you can see this right here is a little thicker. And I just pound and slide off to the side. So this is a pound of meat. There you go. I'll fold that one over to make room. And I am going to take some of the sinew off. I'll do that as I get a little closer to actually cooking them. All right. So that's all pounded out. I'm going to do a quick wash of my hands. Rinse. I'm going to give my mushrooms a little stir. So they're getting, and I get them so they're nice and soft and tender, and they start to caramelize a little. So they'll get a little brown. So you can see, I'll flip this one over right here. So that one is starting to get nice and brown. So you kind of want them to get golden in color. If you wanted to save time, you could, and I'm going to, because my pan is big enough. And I'm going to take a little bit of butter. This is, I rarely use butter, but this is going to help. No, I bought some, just a tiny bit of butter here. Maybe a teaspoon to help caramelize the shallots. I'm just going to throw this in. I'm going to throw the shallots in here. The shallots moving around. Hopefully you can hear the sizzle. I know Char can. Char's sitting over there. She's like, mm-hmm. And now I'm just going to mix it all together, right? So I'm going to put my shallots and my mushrooms together. So I'm just going to save a little time. Everything's going to caramelize. And I'm actually going to deglaze this pan with some white wine. And then I'm going to take all the mushrooms and I'm going to put them to the side. This is definitely a dish you can make ahead because you can just, it's very easy to just, I wouldn't put the cheese in it, but I would put it in a baking dish. You can reheat it in the oven and then add the cheese in at the very last minute. You could always add extra stock in. So if you come look at the farro, it's starting to thicken and the liquid is starting to absorb. There you go. So get them nice and caramelized here. Char, I'm going to ask you to, if you can give me a plate. Yeah. And Char's coming over with the wine. She's going to throw some wine in here. She's going to put about a half a cup of white wine into the mushrooms. Good. And I'm just going to empty in there. You want to grab some white wine. I love how the white wine's sitting by Charmaine. About a half a cup. A little more. Good. You know what would be really nice in here too is a little bit of thyme. So if you have some fresh thyme, throwing that into the mushrooms would be really nice as well. So one of those little side notes. So now all the wine is cooking down. Everything's nice and tender. Okay, now I'm going to empty my mushrooms onto this plate. Make sure I get all the yumminess in onto the plate, nothing left in the pan. And then I'm going to let my pan cool down before I start my turkey. All right, so we're going to turn this off. Here, I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. Not going to put it back onto the hot burner. I'm going to put it to the back because I'm just going to continue cooking the turkey piccata in this dish. So here we go. So this is still going nice. So it says it takes about 10 minutes. I find that it takes sometimes almost 15 to 20, but I'm keeping it on a low simmer. Okay, so that's there. So now we're going to go back to our turkey tenderloin. Okay, so we're going to start, or not tenderloin, our turkey breast. So now that these are all cut or pounded out, I'm going to slide some things out of the way here. I'm going to bring my board over. And I'm going to trim off its fat and silver skin at the end here. So I'm just going to trim this off. Right? So take it off. If you want it on, leave it on, be my guest. But here where it tends to get a little sinewy, I guess is the best word. This is really tough. Put it there, move it over. So it's nice and lean. I'm gonna put this here. So I'm gonna take this over. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about turkey. So why turkey? Well, turkey is actually leaner than chicken. It's a little higher in protein. I'm thinking maybe by like 2 or 3 grams. It is lower in cholesterol, so it has less cholesterol. It's rich in, I never say this right, selenium, right? Which is, it's been known to help fight cancer. So it's great for that. And it helps aid in recovery after surgery, right? Or after an illness. It helps rebuild our muscles and our bones and turkey. Yeah. So I know. And everybody's always kind of stuck on just eating turkey like once a year, right? Or, you know, during the holidays, right? Turkey tenderloins. If you haven't had a turkey tenderloin a while ago, we did a turkey tenderloin dish. I don't know. I want maybe a year and a half ago. We did. So this is a nice way to kind of revisit it a different way. So there's a lot of fun things you can do with turkey. You can do turkey cutlet parmesan to kind of mix it up instead of doing chicken. All right. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to wash my hands again. I probably should have pulled a paper towel. I mean, a towel out, but I did not. I'm going to slide my flour over here. So really funny. I did look at the recipe and it says almond flour. I wrote this recipe for a friend who is gluten-free. So if you are gluten-free, use almond flour. We have all-purpose flour here today, so that's what we're going to use. You could use any type of flour. So almond flour. If you're into oat flour, use oat flour. So here I'm really going to get a good amount of the olive oil spray in here. I want about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of olive oil. I'm going to salt and pepper. That's why I'm touching with one hand so that I can touch the salt with my other hand. So I have my salt here. My little dish. I'm just going to sprinkle a little salt on all the cutlets. Again, here's the thing. You could always add more salt at the end. So if salt is not your thing, or you're having to watch your sodium, eliminate the salt. Try a little garlic on there instead. Again, I'm going to wash my hands one more time because I have to handle the pepper. All right. And I'm going to pepper this side. So you always want to season both sides of the meat. One hand, I'm going to turn. Right-handed, so I tend to use my left hand to change the position of the turkey or the chicken or whatever meat I'm using or working with. A little more salt. I'm using kosher salt. Sometimes I use sea salt, but typically when I'm cooking like this, I use kosher salt to season and then sea salt at the table. Okay, wash one more time. I hope we have a lot of paper towel. Actually, I'm just going to do this. Here we go. Now I have a towel. I'm going to check my farro. And there we go. So the farro is done. It's absorbed all the liquid. And I'm just going to turn this off. I'm going to move it off to the side. And then I'm going to bring my pan back over here. I'm going to turn this on to medium high. And while that's warming up, I'm going to prep my broccoli. So typically you would toss the broccoli with a little bit of olive oil. Same. So we're just going to spray it. You can do this too. This is actually probably a lot easier and a lot less messy. I will say one thing about olive oil spray is you want to make sure that it's only olive oil on the can, that there's no other additives, okay? So they do put a chemical in some of the olive oil aerosol cans. So make sure the ingredient says strictly olive oil. All right, so there's that. We're gonna season this with salt and pepper. So super simple with the broccoli. Sometimes I'll get some, if I want a little garlic, I'll sliver some garlic, or I'll take some whole cloves and I'll just put some whole cloves in here. Sometimes I'll take some lemon slices and I'll just layer lemon slices over it. But because we're putting the lemon in the chicken piccata, I opted to just keep this clean, just olive oil, salt, and pepper. I'm gonna keep an eye on this. It's going in a 425-degree oven for 20 minutes. So here my oil's getting hopefully warm. Turn on that one. It's 5:44, so we'll check it at 5. I can't add at 6:05. Thank you. All right. So here we go. All I'm going to do is I'm going to dredge the turkey and a little bit of flour. And then I'm going to take it over and put it in the pan. I'm actually going to use my hands because a little bit. And what's going to happen is the flour is going to help put a nice little crispy coating on it. And then when we add just a little bit of butter again at the end, it just makes this really creamy, velvety sauce. You'll see. So I'll get these ready and then I'll be able to wash my hands again. I'm going to have the cleanest hands in Charlotte. And then there's nothing wrong with putting these back down onto this board because it is the turkey was raw before anyway. Okay. And then we can clean up just a little more. Now I can wash my hands again. We're gonna have to steal that wine again from Char. Not right now, but once the turkey is done cooking. I'm gonna grab my wine and actually have a sip. I think in the faro too, after you add the wine, I think the directions say pour yourself a glass of wine. So make sure you have done that. I'm gonna use my fork. I'm gonna just kind of move my turkey around. You can see it's starting to sizzle. I have a smaller one here. I think I'm gonna get it in there. So there we go. That's cooking time. You can see it's starting to brown. It's only gonna go another minute or so. Clean up a little bit. Oops. It's fun to see more than 2 people in the kitchen. All right. I'm going to turn this one. You can see how on the top, the pink is starting to go away. That's an indication that it's close to being done. So you see here how it's starting to get a little opaque, a little pinker here. It's a little thicker there. And it's a little hotter on that side of the pan. So I'm just going to turn it a bit. And the same with this one. This one is going to come off in about 20 seconds. It's done. We're gonna probably flip this one. I'm gonna add more olive oil spray. Ideally, olive oil, regular olive oil would be perfect for this. But unfortunately, it's been so long since we've been here. We didn't realize we didn't have any. There we go, turn that one. So it's starting to leave these little brown bits of caramelization on the bottom of the pan. That's gonna cause it like a really nice flavor in the sauce. This is my last one. I'm gonna bring it over so it's a little closer. Nice there. Just a little more time over here. I'm gonna add a little more olive oil over here for the last piece. Right here. Sometimes putting meat in a pan is like a puzzle, right? It's like making it all fit. There we go. That one's good. Just another few seconds. I'm gonna wipe this side off and then I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna start cutting my other shallot. So the other shallot I'm gonna cut into slivers. So I saved the bigger shallot for this. Gonna get all that brown skin off. Sometimes I just take that outer layer. It's just easier to peel and then it comes right off. And all I'm gonna do is slice this into thin slices. Some of the slices are not as thin as others, but that's okay. All right, check my turkey. I keep wanting to call it chicken. These are done here. This just has about another minute. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna take another, I think it's a table oil, a teaspoon of, I don't know, what did I say? So a small amount of butter, thank you. And I'm gonna cook this with my, not ginger, my garlic, right? So this is the garlic we usually use so that we don't have to chop it. Well, that one's down and out. All right, this one's ready to go. Comes out. Butter's gonna go in. Shallots and garlic go in. Yeah, I know, garlic shot out from underneath. And now we're gonna start to caramelize these just a bit. I'm gonna mix it with some olive oil. And that just keeps the butter from burning. And I'm scraping up the bottom of the pan. Breaking the little ringlets apart. Then I'm gonna get that wine again. I'll tell you when, in about 2 minutes, I want that garlic to all come together, melt into the onion. And now we're going to deglaze the pan with some wine, about a half a cup. Keep going, more. Perfect. Big half a cup. There you go. And I wish you could smell this because the shallot with the white wine is amazing. I'm going to turn this more down to a simmer. There we go. Oops. I'll just put them here. I know we need like to open the back door. I'm going to start to measure my chicken stock. Yeah, it's getting smoky in here. Okay, we'll put this in here. And I'm just gonna make sure I'm not forgetting anything. And we're gonna let it simmer by half, reduce by half, which we're probably about there right now. And then I'm gonna add the chicken stock. So that's about a cup. I'm gonna add about another cup of chicken stock. Going a little heavier. I like a lot of sauce. There we go. Let that all come to temperature. That a little bit. And we're gonna add lemon juice. So I'm gonna roll out the lemon. I'm gonna cut it in half. I'm just gonna squeeze the lemon over my hand to catch any pits that might fall in. So about 2 tablespoons. This was like a super like juicy lemon. So I used a half of it. I'm gonna thinly slice the rest of this lemon because I'm gonna use it for garnish later on. I'm kind of thinking I have 6 pieces here, so about 6 to 8 slices of lemon. That's good. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna turn this down to a simmer. I'm gonna return my turkey cutlets to the pan. Just getting them nice and coated. And I'm gonna move them around every couple of times because get some shallots on there. They're not all gonna fit in the pan. And there you go. Okay, moving on. I'm gonna move. We've got still about 10 minutes for our roasted veggies. I'm going to grab about 2 tablespoons of capers. It's gonna add some saltiness to the piccata and just like a little more acidity, right? So, you know, it's pretty briny. So some people like capers, some people don't. So this is definitely, they don't have to go in. It's definitely a preference thing. So if you don't like capers, don't put them in. I'm going to keep them to the side. I don't know because Tammy and Shar are here, so they can decide whether they want them or not. You love capers, so you will put capers in on yours. Okay. Have a sip of wine while you're waiting for everything to come together. I'm going to pull my faro back onto the pan here. I'm going to turn it onto, I guess, medium. I'm going to add a little more vegetable stock just to bring it to temperature. Just help it all come back up. I'm gonna do 2 things. You do have to taste to make sure we're good here. Nice. Okay, just need to see. I'm gonna throw capers in. I think they can use the capers. And I think it could use just a little more lemon. So just some nice capers in here. And just a little bit of the brine. And I'll leave them out if anybody wants to put extra on theirs. Tammy's shaking her head. She's gonna do that. Get my lemons over to the side. I'm gonna get my parsley ready to go. So I'm just gonna chop up some parsley for garnish on top. So just getting things ready to go. Flat leaf Italian parsley. I always buy greens organic like this. Kind of I kind of go by the rule that if it's more of a delicate kind of herb or vegetable, I definitely tend to stay more towards the organic side. If it's got a really thick skin, I don't worry about it as much. So I just want this to get good and warm. That's all we're waiting to do with that. I'm going to take a quick peek if I can find the light in the oven. That's starting to look good. So I'm going to pull this out to show you what this looks like right now. Probably wouldn't be good to stick your phone in. No. So it's starting to get a little bit of a char. So this is cooking a little faster. So here I'm going to take it out. And then I could always put it back in for 5 minutes to warm it up. So I checked this. This oven is cooking a little hotter. So that's why I took it out. All right. We're almost there. It's almost all coming together. Again, I'm just going to give this another little, I don't know why I just don't take a bunch of spoons out and leave them here. I'm just looking to make sure it's warm. Good. I'm going to stir in my shallots and my mushroom, and I'm going to gently fold all of this in. I'm not seasoning this with salt, and the reason why I'm not doing that is because we're going to add Parmesan cheese to it, and that tends to be pretty salty. So I'm not going to salt this at all until after the cheese is in. So now I'm just going to allow the farro and the mushrooms to come to temperature. I'm going to turn this onto the low side and keep it on simmer. Give this one more taste because I'm going to show you one other little trick to kind of make this sauce get a little more velvety and smooth. There's a couple of little tricks. Ooh, that's good. 2 tricks. You could use a little bit of reduced fat cream cheese. Or you could just take another little pat of butter, put it in there. You're just going to swirl the pan around, or use your fork, swirl it around, and it just kind of makes the sauce a little more velvety and creamier.
How much cream cheese would you use?
Maybe an ounce, not much. You just kind of want to make it a little creamy. And I'm actually just going to turn this off because this is going to continue cooking a little bit. So here we go. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more stock to this. And then I'm going to take it over to the table because this is granite, so I don't have to worry about it, right? So I'm going to start to add in the cheese, and it's to taste. So this is Parmigiano Reggiano. It's anywhere from a cup, and Charmaine is saying put the whole thing in there. So I probably put about a half a cup in. I'm going to start to fold it in and save the other half for Charmaine. And again, this is a taste kind of thing, so it's however much you want. Charmaine has a big smile on right now, so I'm probably putting close to a cup in. And farro tends to be a little more chewy than like risotto, so it's heartier. It's a lot more filling, I think. Okay, so look at there. So it looks nice and creamy. That's good to go. I'm going to stick this in for just 5 minutes to warm it up. And then that was really good, right? Do not do that at home. Do not do that at home. And then we'll start to plate it up. And I'm just going to kind of take a little sprig or two of the parsley for garnish. And we'll get a nice plate. Char, where are the plates? Want a nice plate? We're going to plate. This seems so odd without doing this, without being able to see everybody. I'm just going to do one plate for now, and then we'll go from there. So this is actually the perfect plate size. So the smaller the plate, right? So for women, and this is pounded out, your meat should be about the palm of your hand. Your vegetables should take up half of your plate. And then your carbs should be, you should be able to hold like in a cupped hand, right? So who wants to measure it all out, right? So you kind of think about your serving sizes that way. That's the best way to do it. Okay, so this is all done. I'm going to take it off the heat, and I'm going to start to plate. So here I'm going to take a plate. I'm going to grab this one because it's loaded with capers. Whoops. And I'm going to get some sauce on here. Some more capers and shallot. I'm just going to use the same spoon, or I've got this. I'm going to get a nice little serving about the palm of a hand. I'm going to do a nice little garnish. And then I'm going to throw these in here too, because it looks really pretty in the plate when you do that in the pan when you do that. Right? That over there. Put it out. And then the last thing to go on here is the broccoli. And you can smell it. So if you smell it, it smells super yummy. Again, here's the plate. We're gonna get some spears. It's not the prettiest of plates that I've done, but it works. All right, so I like white plates. White plates tend to really show the food, especially if you put it down here, it's on a brown counter. And for char, we're just gonna go in and take a little more, another half a gallon of cheese, put it on top, get her a fork and a knife. And then, okay, you got to taste it without the salt first. And then we'll let her, this is the TV that wouldn't work tonight, so. Here you go.
Thank you, Chef Laura.
There you go.
Thank you, Chef.
All right. Oh, okay. All right, what do you think, Char? You're on camera.
Should I grab a little bit of everything?
I would taste a little bit and then just talk to us about what you're tasting. So go for the faro first, or
First.
she's saying, I know you can't hear her.
Oh my goodness.
She's saying thumbs up.
Absolutely delicious.
She said absolutely delicious, and I'm not lying.
Then I'm going into my greens.
She's going in for the greens. I like it. Yeah, right.
There you go, girl.
The
Okay.
knives are a little dull.
Yeah, they are. The knives are those, not because the broccoli is
Yeah.
tough.
Might be good with a little crushed red pepper on that, huh, Shar?
Mhm.
And now the turkey piccata.
Tell them that I said everything smells absolutely delicious.
She said everything smells absolutely delicious. If you couldn't hear that, sometimes my mic will pick it up, sometimes it won't.
The turkey is tender with the lemon zest.
She said the turkey is tender with a hint of lemon.
Thumbs up all the way.
Thumbs up all the way. We forgot to garnish it with a little bit of parsley, but I think it's all good.
So you put parsley on there.
Yeah, I didn't sprinkle it with parsley. So we're gonna go over
So now
here.
I'm gonna burn it.
You enjoy it. So here in the pot, I'm just gonna take a little bit of parsley, drizzle it on top of the pan. And there you go. You've got your turkey piccata,
There she goes with the cheese.
your roasted broccolini, and your mushroom farotto.
I'll say some for the rest.
And there's Tammy. So I've taken over the helms. Anybody have any questions?
You don't want me to cook, but you're videoing. So.
Yeah. So let's see if I can reach. I can go this way. There you go.
It
All
looks
right, Miss
delicious,
Leslie.
Laura. It looks delicious. I wish I was there.
I know, me too. So soon, hopefully, maybe in a few months, once we get to 75% immunity, things can change. So
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you, Tammy.
you're
You're
welcome.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you,
You're
Shar.
welcome, Shar.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.